looking
week one.
I think they're looking at a couple of other international stops, too. I know Japan has been something on the league's mind for a long, long time.
Mexico. Oilers played in Mexico.
Right. So I would probably submit a particularly poorly played NFL game abroad, but I'm sure that the audience might have some submissions of their own. If you would like to submit one, 615-737-1045.
Bucket has tweeted at us and said, are we sure Japan manhandling the U20 American football team isn't the most embarrassing thing?
So actually, I think it was either Blaine or Hunk that brought this up to me on Thursday of last week, because apparently Japan, kicked the ever-loving bleep out of the under-20 United States American football team.
The U20 World Junior Championship in Canada, this was very recent. I mean, this was last week.
A couple of weeks. I think that's why Blaine brought it up. So we will...
we lost by 21 to Japan.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, look at Japan.
Now, to be fair, what is the top U20 talent playing for the U20 American football team, right?
That is not my area of expertise.
Those guys are probably making their respective NIL money in the college game.
Sure. So I think there is one submission that we've left out, and a caller is getting ready to bring to the forefront, which I believe may be the biggest international embarrassment that we have, as a country in the sports world, have ever experienced. Kyle is up first. Hey, Kyle.
What's going on, boys?
What you got?
Lance Armstrong's doping scandal.
Yeah. It is
forgets
as bad a look as we, as a country represented by a single entity, have had, because he was icon for all time, Lance Armstrong. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there's an American hockey moment in the Olympics. But when you think of American hockey, you just think of legendary moments like, beating Russia and all the classic games against Canada. So that's probably a good one to put up there, Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, because the first part of Lance Armstrong's career, legitimate American hero, right? The Live Strong bands that he has for I believe he was working through testicular cancer at the time. And then the second half of the Lance Armstrong saga is the doping allegations, which were proven, of course, to be true, which with the way that he was, it was some kind of blood doping, if I remember correctly. Either way, one of the most embarrassing international moments that an American athlete or sports team has ever had. Fun. 615-737-1045 is the number, and we'll never do another Mount Rushmore around here again.
What is the Mount Rushmore of sports Mount Rushmore topics?
I don't want to do that, but we will play a fun game that has made its debut. For those of you who remember Horse or Rock Band, this may have similar vibes. Find out next.
It is 11:15. That means that 15 minutes ago, the doors officially opened at nearly every Hatty B's location in Middle Tennessee. The factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport, except the factory at Franklin. Their doors have been open since 7 a.m. because they're serving breakfast. And let me tell you, you will not regret trying Hatty B's new classic hot chicken biscuit, the hot chicken and waffle stack, the crispy hash browns with the drinking buddy beer cheese, or the bacon cheddar grits. Hey guys, it's Lucas Panzica. I would never lead you astray when it comes to food. And this is the summer of cheese at Hatty B's. So no, if you go to Hatty B's and you get a chicken sandwich at whatever spice level you want with the pimento cheese, maybe some crinkle fries, some fried pickles, the Drinking Buddy beer cheese on the side, you will not regret it. Download the Hatty B's app today. You get a free dessert just by doing so. Order it for pickup, skip the line, go back to the office with your Hatty B's famous hot chicken, or order it for delivery. You know it's the best hot chicken with the best sides in town. And go to Hatty B's today.
One thing's for sure and two things for certain. Buck has too much money. And Bert needs more eBay, Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. No object too large, no price too great.
Can I get a hot tub?
So now you have to ask yourself, will Buck buy it?
What the hell is this?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome into America's favorite game show, Will Buck Buy It? Here's how the game is played. Robert Walsh constantly peppers Buck with items that he finds on Facebook Marketplace, on Amazon, on eBay. Is eBay still a thing? I don't know. Constantly peppering Buck with things for Buck to buy him, and Buck won't do it. So we've manufactured a game in order for Buck to have to buy Bert some things. Here's how the game is played. Robert Walsh has a list of items. He is going to go to each one of these items and list some clues. If Buck can guess the item of the clues that Bert is listing, if Buck can guess the item, he does not have to buy Bert that item. If Buck cannot guess the item, he has to buy Bert that item. Really stumbled over that there. Robert Walsh!
Answering the question, will Buck buy it? Our first item, a showcase prize with 3 hints. Let's see how quick you can get this, Buck. Okay, you have to put something in to get something out of this item. It is found in lobbies all across America, and you can contain anything from rings to candy. What did I ask you to buy?
A bowl?
A bowl?
A bowl?
A bowl.
Yeah, a bowl.
Hey,
Lobbies all over America?
Maybe you should think about this a little more. A gumball machine, Buck. $40 straight to my Venmo.
Where have you ever seen a gumball machine in lobbies all across America? When's the last time you've seen a gumball machine in general?
There's
So
one in my
we
dentist's
ask,
office.
Will Buck buy it?
No.
No,
What do you got?
That's not how the game is
I
played.
really thought he would
What do
buy
you need
that.
a gumball
You're
machine
supposed to
for?
buy
I was
it
going to
when
put
you
him
can't.
here. I got to make a little extra money.
Next item, Bert.
Okay, next item. 3 clues once again. This gift has multiple layers. 2, if I was to wear these in the morning, I would be making waffles. 3, if I would wear these around Cheyenne, my girlfriend, I might get a smacked bottom. What is this item that I've sent you, Buck?
Overalls?
It was Shrek Crocs, $80. That's going straight to my Venmo. And now we got to find out, will Buck buy it?
Shrek Crocs?
Yeah, it's got, so the
How
back,
many pairs of Crocs do you have?
just the brand Croc, or are you going to include my Nike Crocs that Ramon got me?
Well, I see. It sounds like you already have a sugar daddy.
I don't
Which
have-
is why I'm confused as to why you continue to pepper me in our group text with things that I don't want to buy you.
You can't ask more questions to get out of questions, Buck. You have to tell us if you're going to buy me these Shrek Crocs or not.
The only question that matters is, will Buck buy it?
How much?
$80.
I almost cussed. No.
That feels like a bargain.
$80 for
How-
Shrek Crocs?
Licensed memorabilia.
Can't pass up on savings like that.
not
All right.
licensed.
Next item.
Then we get to the high ticket items now. These are things that I have sent Buck in the past, and I have 3 hints for him. Someone who is good at using this item would be called a shark. You're trying to put balls in holes, and I'll definitely break it.
All right. Give me the clues slower again.
Someone who is good at using this item would be called a shark.
Okay.
You're trying to put balls in holes. And 3, I would definitely break it.
A pool table.
That is correct.
Oh!
Dang it. $250, man. I thought I was going to get a pool table.
Where the hell are you getting a $250 pool table? Aren't pool tables like $5,000?
It came with free sticks.
Are they broken?
It was in disrepair, but it's not. This isn't for you. It's for me. I'll take a damaged pool table.
It's missing like one leg, and so a corner of it's just on the ground, so it's totally slanted.
I just don't understand how you reasonably expect. Where the hell would you? I've been to your house. It's not like you could put a pool table in your house.
The garage, man. I got a garage figured out.
I feel like a nice pool stick or set of pool sticks would cost $250.
That's what I'm saying. It was a bargain, and he still wouldn't buy it. We got 2 items left in the showcase.
Next item.
This really makes me regret my contract extension because I wasn't getting these texts on my first contract.
Okay, well, you're going to be getting more after this because this game is a lot of fun. 3 clues. You would never.
That is a fine, 100%.
You would never use this. 2, it would be nice if. Whoa, what did I put here?
Can't even read your own writing. I'm definitely not buying it out.
If you would get this for me, you would, or if you missed this, I would win a Bago.
An RV?
Dang it.
I would never. You're right. I would never get an RV.
1987 camper in terrible disrepair, $600. Still tows very well.
$600?
It still tows very well.
For an RV?
It has great bones.
There must be somebody living in the RV that they cannot evict.
I think there were 2 raccoons that came. It depends how quickly you pull the trailer away.
Well, you just buy him the RV.
$600.
Well, you didn't ask me.
We could take it on the road.
I got it right. I don't have to.
See, I made the clues too easy. Next time, no more easy clues.
Who are you yelling at? You're the one in control of the clues.
I'm upset at my performance. Last item in the showcase. A flip on this will give you a new lease on life. 2, I wouldn't be such a pain in your back if I used this. And 3, if you have one, you probably don't use it.
If I have one, I probably don't use it.
If anyone out there right now has one, they don't use it. So the clues in one more time. A flip on this could give you a new view on life. I wouldn't be such a pain in your back if I would use this. If you have one, you probably don't use it.
So I actually do have one of these.
Oh my God! So you could just gift it to me.
And I forget the exact term, but is it an inversion table?
That is the correct term.
I do have an inversion table, and I very much don't use it.
$80, man. Come on, I've been waiting to get one for free. Y'all don't use them. My back hurts. Help me out.
I do have something that I'm willing to buy you.
What?
As a matter of fact.
My interest is piqued.
We have some clues?
We should be able to guess this.
We recently did a giveaway on the show. It is something not a single solitary person was interested in, and the price of which I feel like you could get for less than $20. Will Buck buy it? You have to guess.
I wish I listened to your show more when I'm not on it. I would have known what your giveaway was.
That's not true. You constantly, the only person who peppers me more during the show are people that don't work at this radio station.
Only when you're wrong. Let me think. I think this would be. Come on, Mama. Fill me with your spirit. Tell me the right answer. Is it Weird Al tickets?
No, you are going to see the Nashville Sounds play the Iowa Cubs on Saturday, July the 10th. Congratulations to Robert Walsh. I will, in fact, buy you those Sounds tickets.
I'm very excited. I love Sounds games. We've been trying to get. Will you accompany me to the Sounds game?
No.
Damn. This is tough, dude. I would hate to have to date Buck.
How long? Okay, great.
Wait, honey, can you buy me these? No.
Oh my God! No, you want to hear something funny? Grace looked like she was traumatized the other day exactly because of this. So when you shower, Bert, you have. Oh, actually, all 4 of us.
Maybe
have,
you should use someone else as a reference.
But why?
Showering, please. You know I take baths.
Well, not frequently enough based on the smell in the studio right now.
It's tough.
Slay is not enough to cover it up. But recently, you want to talk about how hard it is to date me. God love Grace. When your shower drain gets clogged with hair, what do? You scoop the hair out.
Yep.
She said she came downstairs after taking a shower. She said, "Hey, I think you need to hit the drain with some Drano. The hair's not going down properly." I go, "Well, that's not exactly how that works. You must scoop the hair out in order for the drain to drain properly." She looked at me, and she's going to get mad at me after this, I'm sure. She looked at me and she said, "Well, that kind of grosses me out. That's a blue job." I said, "What the hell is a blue job?"
Oh.
She says, "That's a guy's job, to scoop the hair out of the shower."
Blue means
men, I guess. I don't know.
Like a pink job would be like making a casserole.
I've never heard.
In Grace's scenario.
And I said, "Honey, this is not Harrison Butker's household. You are going to take these plastic gloves that I have underneath my sink, and you're going to go scoop your own hair out of the damn shower drain."
I believe in woman empowerment in this household.
That's right. This is some gloves. This is an equal opportunity household. You take your ass upstairs and get that hair out of the shower drain. I'll see you on the other side.
Everybody is down for equal opportunity until there's a spider in the room. And now it's the man's time. Grace, I understand. I also live with a long-haired woman. And there's only one shower in the house that I'll use.
Your hair's as long as Cheyenne's is.
But I'm also a man who will scoop his hair or just stick it handily to the side of the shower.
Okay. So I have to go to the Sounds game with you?
What day was that?
It's the 10th.
The 10th.
Next Wednesday.
Speaking of Blue, I just got a text from our mutual friend Blue that said he would go to the Sounds game with me.
Okay, well, you can take Blue to the
That's a
Sounds game.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Do we get primetime off?
No. You can do primetime from the Sound Stadium. I'll see you there.
Send me to the Shadows.
Take your ass to the Shadows.
Will Buck buy it?
I think he just broke his headphones that time. I heard something pop that doesn't normally. All right. Are we done? Do I have to actually buy anything? An RV, a pool table, an inversion table. What
Shrek
else?
Crocs.
Shrek Crocs.
You have to buy the Shrek Crocs.
Yeah, that feels like the biggest
When's your
priority.
birthday?
August 4th.
gonna
It's
get-
coming up.
Oh, it is coming
I'm
up.
going to get something completely opposite of Shrek Crocs for your birthday. I'll think of something. Don't
Maybe
you
Lord
worry.
Farquaad Crocs.
Lord Farquaad Crocs?
Lord Farquaad flip-flops.
Is that too? No, I don't want to see his toes. The lack of socks in this environment is already a problem, and I've already done away with Schaefer in his open-toed shoes. I don't want to invite that back into my life.
Oh, I regret that. The whole segment.
I often walk out of here and just say, I have that same feeling. I regret that. What do you regret? The entire show. the fact that people employ us. I regret it. For the sake of the audience, I regret it.
Wish we didn't do that.
He really does send me, at least 3 items a week that are Facebook. Are you a Facebook Marketplace person? Because I won't do it.
I'm locked out of my Facebook right now. Me and old Zuck got some beef at the moment.
He is but you know people like Bert who will scavenge Facebook Marketplace just for the opportunity. Now, the only time that he's been close to getting me to actually buy something for him that I would not buy for him, I would buy for my own house and then, determine at what point Bert may or may not be able to use it, which he would never be able to use it, is a sauna. I would absolutely get rid of my guest bedroom and make a sauna room. That I'm not above. And he's found a couple of deals that are, less than $1,000 that I would be willing to do. But that's as close as he's gotten to me actually buying something that he sent me off Facebook Marketplace.
Well, you're no fun when it comes to the game Will Buck buy it. Luckily for Preds fans, Barry Trotz is very fun in the game Will Barry buy it because he is buying big this offseason. And the Preds' full regular season schedule is out. Do you know who they're playing in the season opener?
Oh, I believe I saw this on the October the 10th. It's not the Sharks, is it?
No. Welcome back to Smashville, Matt Duchene. The Dallas Stars come to Bridgestone Arena Thursday, October 10th, a 7 p.m. puck drop. Duchene just signed a 1-year contract extension, $3 million with the Dallas Stars. So the Preds will break in their new star-studded lineup at home against Matt Duchene and the Dallas Stars.
That's a fun opener. Especially, so do Preds fans hate Matt Duchene? Because there were moments when it was just kind of like, oh, he's not worth the money. It was never outright hate. There were moments where it felt like it was trending in that direction, but it felt like people were just underwhelmed on the whole by the Matt Duchene experience, especially when he goes on to Dallas and has been much more consistently effective there, it seems.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because Matt Duchene didn't want to leave. Famously, he really wanted to come to Nashville and wanted to stay in Nashville. 1 season in Dallas, 25 goals, 40 assists. So, 65-point season. Inconsistent is the word for Matt Duchene in Nashville. Was up and down. He kind of hit a peak in that 2021-22 season with an 86-point campaign, 40-goal year. And he was pretty much on par with Dallas last year in what he did with his last season in Nashville. But, I think a feeling of being underwhelmed would describe how Preds fans felt about the Duchene thing because it had just built up over so many years, and then he gets here and he really only has 1 season where he delivered what you expected on that contract. But he will be back in Nashville. Taylor on the F&M Bank chat says, I like Duchene, but there were too many times he just didn't produce.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, well, maybe if you turn your mic on, make your job a little
It's
easier.
the first time in 4 years.
Oh, Jackson.
Why do you talk?
Oh, you're done?
I was thinking about it. And in sheer bratty protest, just sitting here for the remainder of the 2.5 minutes without my microphone off, if you two are going to play that game with me. Idiots. So, you are correct. Barry Trotz is buying all the players. Now, the Titans just had an offseason where they bought a lot of players. We are talking about, if you're going to take the total contract value for the combined at least 4 signing. Are we counting Alexander Carrier's extension?
Let's, for the purposes of this discussion, in terms of the star power they brought in, we can keep it to the 3.
Okay.
The 3 big name signings.
I think you can include the goalie.
Yeah, Wedgwood, I mean, it's a significant, sure.
So we'll take the 4 Preds players that they have signed to date and add that to Calvin Ridley, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Murray, L'Jarius Sneed, and Calvin Ridley. Am I missing anybody?
No, I think you nailed it.
Sadiq Charles.
No, yeah, you hit on the big name guys. Yeah, the difference makers.
The Titans and Preds this offseason have damn near spent $1 billion in total contract value. Again, NFL players, the money is closer to monopoly money, so you understand that the overall figure is oftentimes inflated or not actually what the player ends up making on the life of the deal, given how many outs there are. But in total, contracts equaling $1 billion have been handed out by the two of the professional sports franchises in the city of Nashville, and it has fans buzzing, which is something that we're going to dive into a little more later in the noon hour. But coming up next, one of the most controversial quarterbacks in the NFL who has a ton of mystery around him. Well, that mystery has just been solved. We'll tell you what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hatty B's Hot Chicken. If you're asking yourself the question, will Buck buy it? I will always buy some Hatty B's Hot Chicken. In fact, I stopped by their Lower Broad location, 5th and Broad, last night at probably about 8 o'clock. It was popping. That is one of the most jam-packed consistently Hatty B's location, but it was close to home, and I had to slide in there and get a chicken sandwich. It was excellent, as always. So we have Aaron Rodgers mystery that's been resolved. But first, we do have transactions that have been announced by the Nashville Predators. 4 total new signings, including the 4 that they added to the roster yesterday, correct?
That is correct. Preds tweeted this just yesterday evening. Said, if you thought we were done, guess again. Welcome to Smashville with 4 names. They are 26-year-old defenseman Nick Blankenberg. He has been in Columbus since 2021, a Michigan product. Spent some time with the Cleveland Monsters last year, 24 games. He had 12 NHL appearances last year. Jake Lucchini, 29-year-old center, played 40 games for John Hines in the Minnesota Wild last year. Vinny Inestroza, a 30-year-old forward who spent some time with Scranton in the AHL and Pittsburgh last year. Journeyman has played for Chicago, Arizona, Florida, and Buffalo. But maybe most importantly, 30-year-old goaltender Matt Murray, who Preds fans will remember very well as the winning goaltender for the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup in 2017.
Interesting. Where has his career taken him since?
So Murray, since that Stanley Cup run twice with the Penguins, ended up in Ottawa in the 2020-2021 season, where he had 27 appearances. Then he had 20 appearances in the season after that. Popped down to the AHL briefly, went to the Toronto Maple Leafs, where he has been since 2022, had 26 appearances for Toronto in the 22-23 season, and now here he is in Nashville.
So, worth keeping an eye on as we continue to wade our way through the NHL free agency process. And we are going to have a conversation in the final hour today about how Rand Carthon and Barry Trotz are getting free agents aplenty to come to Nashville beyond just the cash that they have had to spend. Because the Preds were not in a situation like the Titans were with, I mean, how much money did the Titans walk into free agency with this year? About 85 mil, maybe a little north of that. After you accounted for the Dillard release and all the other dead money that they've been trying to work out from under, Barry Trotz and the Preds, is Kyle Turris still getting paid by the Nashville Predators? Is he still counting against the cap? Kyle Turris hasn't been on this roster for several years at this point. You want to talk about underachieving players. And I want to say there might be something with Duchesne still tied to the salary cap there. But still, I think they had about $25 million heading into free agencies to spend, and we understand that the money in the NHL is not the same as it is in the NFL. But we'll put that on ice, no pun intended, for the moment, and circle back in the final hour about Carthon and Trotz and the collective efforts by general managers in this city in the last couple of months. Now, we have talked about the only thing we have more than Traylon Burks fatigue as a show is Aaron Rodgers fatigue, yes? It is pretty obvious when you see Aaron Rodgers anywhere in the news that it is going to be some manner of off-field discussion at this point. Every conversation I have around Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I have made an egregious mistake. The Matt Murray the Preds have signed is not the Matt Murray, formerly of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has just re-signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Matt Murray the Preds have signed is an NHL goaltender who is 26 years old, who was also with the Dallas Stars last year and made one appearance. He made 31 appearances with the Texas Stars in the AHL. So the Preds did sign a goaltender named Matt Murray. It is not the Matt Murray that I thought we were talking about, which I thought was weird at first glance. I should have double-checked it. Matt Murray of the Dallas Stars. So the Preds have signed 2 backup goaltenders that were with the Dallas Stars last year. Thought that was strange. Should have cross-referenced it before I brought it to the air. I'm an idiot, and I was wrong. Yes.
Thank you, Jackson. All right.
Oof. Wrong Matt Murray.
Whoa. Where the hell did that come from? What is that?
Another board.
He's just tripping all over himself back there, hitting buttons he doesn't mean to. Here's the deal. We have not acquitted ourselves well in terms of hockey knowledge in the last 2 days. Whether it's how badly I botched Marchessault's name in the last 24 hours, and then the Matt Murray situation. We have not acquitted ourselves well as a hockey knowledge show. Either way.
Exact same name. You got to be kidding me.
Well, listen, it sounds like, the Titans and Nashville SC have two Tyler Boyds. You're going to mix them up?
No, those two I definitely have down.
Okay, very good. Aaron Rodgers fatigue, though. Anytime you see a story about Aaron Rodgers at this point, it's hardly ever about football, right? When's the last Aaron Rodgers football story that you saw?
He was coming back.
Like coming back to play last season is the last Aaron Rodgers football story. Maybe some throwing in the voluntary work before missing mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, the minicamp thing was the last Rodgers story.
Sure, but it's not I guess it is a football story because he was absent at the minicamp, but it's less about the football and more about the absence, right? Well, apparently it has been discovered that Aaron Rodgers, according to Connor Hughes of SNY, missed the mandatory minicamp program to take a trip to Egypt, which I am inclined to give him a pass for because, one, it's not my country of origin, but I'm a dual citizen. It makes me so sad to see the lack of tourism that Egypt gets. So anytime anybody is going there at all, whether it's friends, family, somebody in the news or something like that, I'm like, yes, oh my God, please go support their economy because the tourism has taken a beating there, especially with everything that's going on with Israel and Palestine, but that's neither here nor there. So initially I was like, oh, that's fine. Let them go to Egypt. They need the money. They need Aaron Rodgers' money. It's fine. The Jets will be okay. The idea that players, okay, so Brady missing a part of training camp. Remember, it was the joint camp with the Titans when he was with the Bucs that he was just absent for. Tom Brady didn't come for that, went on a different kind of a trip. It's been speculated that it was in an effort to save his marriage with Giselle based on the conflict that was going on there in the football. But there's with his football career and the lack of retirement or lack of plan to retire at that point in time, are Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady the only kind of player, the only caliber of player that can get away with missing something that's mandatory in the NFL? Training camp and mandatory minicamp. Because the football does not allow for that kind of individual power that way. We've talked about this. The LeBron James of the NFL is Aaron Rodgers, right? But there's no Paul George out here leveraging his situation. There's no Kawhi Leonard who's been able to take advantage of certain circumstances to better his situation financially, team-wise, and other. If Jeff Simmons decided, hey, I need to miss a week of training camp, would Titans fans accept that? Let's just take the best player on the team right now. If Jeff Simmons decided he needed to miss a training camp week for personal reasons, how would that be received here? We're just using Jeff as a hypothetical example.
A full week of training camp.
That's what Tom Brady missed. Aaron Rodgers missed a 3-day mandatory minicamp, which, again, 3 days is what I know it's a little longer than 3 days because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the season, you have a walkthrough on Saturday, and then you either travel or you have the day off. If Jeff missed a week of training camp for personal reasons, and he said he absolutely had to do it, and it was for his mental well-being, all the same justifications that Aaron Rodgers gave, would Titans fans be willing to accept that, or is it only quarterbacks that are only superstar, bona fide, probably future Hall of Famers in the case of both of them, quarterbacks that can get away with that in the current landscape of the NFL?
It'd be a big talking point. We wouldn't just be brushing it aside like we do when Jeff misses OTAs or mandatory minicamp. I think it'd be a pretty big discussion point.
Sure, we talk about it. It's not like it wasn't a discussion point in New York. But, does it matter that much, I guess? If the player is in a good enough spot, health-wise, that he understands the playbook, this is a different situation because obviously he's working with a new defensive coordinator and Aaron Rodgers is the offense there, right? Tom Brady is the offense there, so it's a little different. But there's no question that it derails everything when those two players miss.
Well, the answer to does it matter is what happens next. If Jeff does return after that week and he's fine and he's healthy and he goes into the season, it's all completely forgotten about, right? We don't even bring it up. If that's not the case, then obviously it's a major factor. So what happens after that week of missed practice, the hypothetical scenario that we're talking about, what happens afterwards is what makes it matter or not.
Now, did you read the justification of Aaron Rodgers' trip to Egypt at the time that it happened?
That he just had to get away? What was it?
Rodgers originally pieced this trip together during his recovery from his Achilles surgery. It gave him something to look forward to during one of the lowest points of his career. He's long admired Egyptian culture and scheduled the visit for what was believed to be after the offseason program.
So he just didn't get his dates right?
Yeah, he didn't have the dates right. Didn't bother to check with anybody and said, hey, I've had this big trip to Egypt planned. I'm probably not going to reschedule it, even though I've got the money to. I'll see you guys in July, right? It can't be an explanation like that. Now, the Jets don't care because the Jets don't have any choice. The Jets have already ceded all control to Aaron Rodgers. But I'm wondering if there's any other position, any other circumstance where an NFL player can have more leverage over their situation that allows for this kind of flexibility. Because players started lobbying against things like mandatory minicamp after the virtual off seasons. And everybody came back and, for the most part, it was still football as we come to know it. So players have been trying to get more virtual learning incorporated into this for all manner of different reasons. And I just don't know that there's any other circumstance but a quarterback and a high-level quarterback who has complete and total leverage over their situation saying, yeah, you guys can kick rocks. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. 615 Taylor H. on the YouTube chat says, Salah had to tell the Pharaoh to let his QB go? ? Yes. Didn't have a Moses reference on the radio show today, but either way. Coming up next, how Barry Trotz approached free agency for the Nashville Predators. He gave a press conference yesterday. You'll hear from the GM. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The Nashville Predators stole the show on day one of NHL free agency, bringing in multiple star players, including Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea on multi-year deals. The Preds also added backup goaltender Scott Wedgwood from Dallas. General Manager Barry Trotz met with the media yesterday and talked about the future of Nashville goaltending with UC Saros, Scott Wedgwood, and Milwaukee prospect Yaroslav Askarov all in the mix.
We're going to do what's right for our organization, and I'm asking all our goaltenders to be ready for camp and get at it. The only thing that I do know is UC Saros is our number one goalie. So.
For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
So the Nashville Predators been cooking. Free agency underway. It has been an exciting couple of off seasons for Nashville sports fans, be it Preds, Titans, what have you. There is legitimate juice around both teams for the first time in an off season, it feels like, in quite some time. So Barry Trotz, after his first NHL draft running the show yesterday, after his first NHL draft earlier in the last couple of weeks running the show, and then the free agency process beginning yesterday. I believe it opened at 11 a.m. and they had immediately signed three high caliber, high quality players to come in and added a backup goalie. In the midst of all this, as well as some additional ancillary depth moves that we talked about earlier in the second hour, Barry Trotz has been managing the situation really, really well. You heard from John Glennon in the first hour, if you were listening. Johnny, of course, of the Nashville Post, talking about how much different Barry Trotz is as a general manager, as an executive, versus how Glennon would have described him when covering the Preds for the Tennessean at the time when Barry Trotz was the first Preds coach in the history of the franchise. It seems that dynamic has shifted substantially. So with Barry Trotz giving the press conference yesterday, recapping the first wave of free agents, there's been a couple of different questions that we've had about the assets that they signed, including Steven Stamkos, who is probably the most important as we talk about it, a generational type center to come in here and fortify this team. He's 33 years old, as is Jonathan Marchessault, who comes in at 30 and who I believe will be 31 by the time the season starts. Brady Shea, the defenseman, also added into the mix, and then the goalie who will back up UC Saros this year, represent the four top-of-line items that the Preds have added to the roster in the last less than 24 hours at this point. But for Barry Trotz, he definitely took a specific approach to how he prioritized free agency. And in fact, can we hear from Barry Trotz on the prioritization of free agents that they went about trying to acquire?
Good. It's sort of, I think in my mind I had a priority. The priority for me, number one, was to fix the back end. Just when it started, I think it started with Ryan McDonough being a part of the trade to Tampa going back. That's a big hole. A, he's a good defender, and B, he's a leadership guy. So if I had to prioritize, I said I needed to fix the back end, because I told our players I was going to do that. I said it's my job to fix that hole that I created by having Ryan go back to Tampa Bay. Which we mutually sort of agreed, do a player solid, and I told the players, I'm going to fix that. I did a solid for a player. I need to fix it for you guys. And then after that, it was looking for the offense. I was looking for the offense up front. How can we be a better hockey team offensively? Look for those serial winners. And so I didn't talk to a lot of guys. I prioritized probably a center ice position, probably targeted to the sort of the top three guys. And then I was looking for, that guy. I sort of said, we can fix this hole, and I'm looking for that guy. And I think we were able to do that with what we did today.
So that's Barry Trotz speaking yesterday at an initial free agency recap press conference. They have spent on those four players alone $111 million in total contracts. 4 years, 32 with Steven Stamkos, 5 years, 27.5 with Jonathan Marchessault, and defenseman Brady Shea gets 7 years, $49 million across the board with the most expensive free agent signing class, just those three, not including the goalie, in Predators history. So he's approaching it's at least if we had the opportunity to talk to Trotz at some point, and you said that you've sent a request to the Preds?
Yes.
About Trotz and who else?
Any of those guys.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know anyone, but I'd like to talk to Stamkos and Trotz. I would like the opportunity to ask him the question as how much does your experience as a coach working with a general manager about personnel acquisition informed the way that you as a former coach have gone about the personnel acquisition? Because aggressive, it felt like the rest of the league, just based on the preliminary headlines that I saw and the reactions from people yesterday, were pretty surprised that the Nashville Predators were out here buying at that rate at the top of the market right away. And they had set themselves up for success that way. The report was they were in on all three players to an extent. The expectation was that they would close at least one of the three players that they were in on, because all three of these are legitimate impact players right away. And that he got deals done with all three speaks to not just the aggressive nature and the forethought and planning that went into this, as it should, and now that we've seen a year representative sample size of him as the general manager here, because I believe his promotion it was made official on July 1st, 2023, the peaceful transition of power.
And this was not a very David Poile offseason either.
Not even close. That's what strikes me, because we're getting ready to have a conversation coming up next about Carthon and Trotz and how they compare to their predecessors this way. And there is one critical factor that you have to consider that was not available to their predecessors. But Barry Trotz, I wonder how much his experience as a coach, working with general managers and personnel departments and maybe not getting everything that he wanted, understanding what he needed as a coach, but not getting everything that he needed to apply it to the best possible team here. Now that he has control and the experience of both, how much did that fuel that aggressiveness to try and make sure that you got every player on your hit list and check those boxes?
It's interesting. Trotz, who I think evolved as a coach after he left Nashville, who brought Glennon brought it up, sort of the irony about Trotz and what the identity of the Preds was for most of his time here versus this go for it, swing big, aggressive nature of him as a general manager. But we talk about the amount of Stanley Cups that you're bringing in with Stamkos winning 2, losing 2, Marchessault winning 1, losing 1. A lot of those came against Barry Trotz coach teams. Like Barry Trotz and his win with the Washington Capitals beat Jonathan Marchessault and the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup final. Barry Trotz lost back-to-back with the New York Islanders to those Steven Stamkos Tampa Bay Lightning teams in 2020 and 2021. Do you think, though, that we overrate that when players come in having won championships? Or do we properly, You think so? Yeah.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. It depends on the state of the roster at the time. The roster like the Preds, I'm not really worried about it. Yossi and Forsberg have played for a Stanley Cup. So that experience is there. They have been the thing, and they've brought in other vets who have had relative levels of playoff experience.
Ryan O'Reilly had an incredible run with the Blues in their Stanley Cup win.
Playoff experience does matter if you have a team like the Preds who were fielding a bunch of younger players at the time because they were working through a variety of different injuries, including Yossi and Forsberg, In 2022 was that season. Then last year, they start to iron it out a little more. You get one of the best Forsberg seasons, if not the best Forsberg season that he's ever had, and another exceptional year from Roman Josi. And then you just add additional talent. So it's more about the talent and how they fit within the system, or how you can fit them or adjust the system to fit them, as opposed to, hey, this guy's won a cup, let's go get him. Yes, he was probably important. Steven Stamkos was indisputably an important part of the Stanley Cup, the Stanley Cups, plural, that the Tampa Bay Lightning won during his tenure there. But when you already have that pre-existing playoff experience, I'm not sweating it that much. Now, like the Titans, for example, that's a little different. To bring in veteran players on a roster that is talent bereft and pretty inexperienced across the board. How many players on this current Titans team, for example, were on the team that made the last postseason appearance in 2021? Precious few, one would imagine. It might just be Harold Landry and Jeff Simmons off the top of my head as I think about it now, but I'll have to go through and look more closely at the roster. Either way, that I do think matters when you can help people navigate the difficulty of the postseason. For the Preds, though, it was important for a variety of different reasons to acquire the players that they did. And I want to dive into the parallels between the Titans' offseason moves and the Preds' offseason moves, and how Nashville intertwines with both of them as a city and a destination, how much that's changed. We'll do that coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hatty B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. So it has been a busy offseason for both the Titans and the Preds. And now we get to talk about how much not just the organizations themselves have played a role in that, not just the relationship builders that the two organizations have respectively put in those roles in Rand Carthon and Barry Trotz, but also the attractiveness of the city of Nashville as a free agent destination. I have a distinct memory of being in panic mode on a St. Patrick's Day back in 2018, Lucas, because Ndamukong Suh was in town. And Mike Vrabel and John Robinson were taking him out to dinner to try and sell him on the idea of joining the Tennessee Titans team in the first year that John and Mike were on the job together. And there's a variety of different reasons why Suh didn't sign in Nashville. And he's not the only big free agent to be courted here that the team didn't end up landing. Hell, I mean, the Titans wanted Azeez Al-Shaair and Denico Autry back, and they couldn't keep them for various reasons. So it's not like Nashville is just this above. It's not Los Angeles yet. It's not New York City as far as an attractive destination beyond what the teams are. But it's trending in that direction. I think DeAndre Hopkins has been the best example of how a player who is Hall of Fame caliber, if not outright Hall of Fame resume, can embrace a city, a culture, a team in the midst of a less than great football situation and kind of have the city embrace them that same way. DeAndre Hopkins has engendered a lot of love from not just Titans fans, but the city of Nashville for the way that he's leaned in on everything, right? Really seems to.
It's been a great cultural fit, yes.
It truly has. Now, not everything is going to be a great cultural fit, but how much more culture can Nashville offer that maybe even in 2018 or when Rustin Webster was here or going back, generations and generations, what have you, how much has Nashville evolved as a destination that's beyond just the state income tax or lack thereof that's appealing to free agents? Because I think there's a couple of different layers here that you can pull examples from both organizations and kind of work your way through piece by piece. So let's do it this way. Let's start with both franchises and the state that they're currently in or that they were in prior to their drafts and free agent acquisitions. Titans down tremendous after the 2023 season. Talent bereft, coaching change not imminent, but coaching change made, a lot of uncertainty about the way to move forward, and it sounded like they had it seems like they have had a good plan in place to at least check the correct boxes to set themselves up for success. But you had to pay, what did I call it? The we suck luxury tax in free agency. You had to overpay for Calvin Ridley. Is it an overpay? Yes. Did you have to do it? Yes. Should you be upset about it? No, it's not that deep. You don't have your own players who are worth that kind of money, so you have to overspend to acquire guys. You have a situation in the Preds where they're more competitive, but are close to a lower end of their cycle for the kind of talent that they've had, the kind of expectations that they've set for themselves as an organization, having missed the postseason for the first time in 8 years in 2022, coming back in 2023 with a pretty poor start and really disappointing at home, and then trending in the right direction in lieu of making a playoff or in route to making a playoff push, not winning a playoff series and kind of underwhelming in that playoff series, but then having pieces and parts to build upon in both the draft and free agency cycles, where the Titans are at a lower end of the cycling up than the Preds are. Both were at kind of the bottom of their last cycle. Can we agree on that?
Yes, and I think the Preds, the big picture of Andrew Burnett's first season was an overachievement for the Preds.
Cole says Ridley isn't an overpay after all the new wide receiver deals. Yes, but he was when you signed him. I don't care about Justin Jefferson after Calvin Ridley is under contract. I care about what they paid for him at the time. Again, it was an overpay. Does it matter for you? No, it doesn't at all. You shouldn't be upset about that. It's okay. Now, to the people tasked with overseeing these respective rebuilds. Start Preds. Barry Trotz, 1 year on the job. Hires Andrew Burnett. Preds are noticeably better offensively. It takes some time to get there, but once they start to meld well with the system, once they start to get a better feel of their situation around them, you could see the things start to take off in a positive direction. Trotz then supplements that with his first NHL draft a couple of weeks ago, and now a star-studded, arguably the best free agency class that this franchise has signed. Is it going to guarantee them a Stanley Cup? Of course not. This sport is the hardest sport. The NHL is the hardest sport to guarantee that your offseason moves will guarantee you a championship because of the randomness on top of, how long the season is, on top of health and all these other things. Barry Trotz has done an above-average job relative to expectation, yes?
He's done what he said he was going to do. And I think he's delivered on that, just in terms of moves made. Whether or not those moves are a success remain to be seen. But I think he has done more than even the most optimistic Preds fan could have hoped for when he talked about wanting to bring in stars to immediately make this team a difference maker and contend for a championship right now. He went above and beyond with this offseason.
Did Carthon have the same kind of offseason? Did he go above and beyond to put this thing in a meaningfully competitive place? I don't expect the Titans to compete for a Super Bowl this year. I don't. Could they surprise you? Maybe. We'll find out. I do expect them to be capable of competing for the division, if not a wild card. And I do think that the Ridley acquisition makes me want to agree with the assessment that Carthon went over and above, because they did not sound like they initially planned to be in the Calvin Ridley mix. They weren't in the Calvin Ridley mix until very, very late in the game. And in fact, can we hear from Carthon on just how quickly things clicked for him and Calvin Ridley? This was courtesy of the Install Live show that we did 6 days after the draft in May.
And so we get him on the phone, and, we all introduce ourselves, and then we pass the phone to Coach, and then Coach tells him, hey, this is going to be the system. This is how our program is going to be run. This is how we're going to do things. And then I got the phone, and it was one of those things. If you guys, I don't know how many people in here are from Florida or know about people from Florida, like, we stick together, right? Whether you're in state, out of state. And I knew people that coached him, and I knew the area he's from. And so I just approached it from two Florida boys having a conversation, on the phone. And one of the things I told him, I was like, listen, I know where you're from. I'm from the same place you're from. I know how you were raised. I know what things mean to you. I was like, but more than anything, we're going to treat you like a man and allow you to be you. I said, whoever that is, and we had done our research, so we knew what he was made of. But we're like, we're going to let you be a man and allow you to be you. And I told him one of the things that Miss Amy takes pride in is allowing people to be them and do their jobs. And what do you say, within 2 minutes of the phone call, he was like, I'm coming. I'm good.
Yeah. We went from a 50% chance to Calvin just being like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm coming.
So that is both Carthon and Brian Callahan earlier in the offseason, or I guess after the free agency period and after the draft, speaking on some of the acquisitions that the team made with season ticket holders. So then there's Barry Trotz talking about players who want to win being here in Nashville and talking about the relationships that he's built or tried to build with various players over the course of his coaching and personnel executive career.
It's huge because it's a statement, I think, for the rest of the league that, these players will come to Nashville. These players see what we're doing with our franchise. We have lots to offer, and we're very determined to win. And we're committed to that. So that's what players want. They, you get to that caliber of player, all three of them really. You say, what's the number one thing you want? And it's everybody looks at the money and that and think it's that. It's not. When you get to this caliber of player that we've signed today, in all three of them, and even re-signing Carr and that. Those are the players that they want to win. That's the number one thing that will come out of their win. I want to win. If you're not committed to winning, I'm pretty sure they're not coming. And that's the number one thing that they want. And then after, you got to figure out the rest. Who do I play with? Where's my fit? And once you have that, then we got everything you want. From a city to ownership, everything. So there's no reason not to come to Nashville.
So that is Barry Trotz speaking on acquiring players and what it is that players are seeking before just the money. Because I say it a lot. The answer to all of your questions forever and always is money. Money is not an ancillary factor here, especially if you're getting up there in age. 30, 33 as Stamkos and Marchessault are. You want to be able to continue to secure your financial viability. DeAndre Hopkins taking the deal that he did. It made more sense for him to be paid what he's worth, and he was well worth that contract for the Tennessee Titans. Patriots, the Bills, the Chiefs were not interested in matching that kind of amount, that money that he ultimately received here from Rand Carthon. So, relative to expectations, who had the better offseason? Trotz or Carthon? I would argue that the expectation is higher for Trotz, even though, technically this is Rand's, they've both been on the job for about a year. And Rand has the promotion now that gives him more autonomy in his current situation. So maybe we see the best version of Rand Carthon yet. I think the degree of difficulty for Trotz was, one, harder. Two, did it while still fielding a playoff team that I think most of us and most NHL pundits would have looked around and said, that's not a playoff team prior to the season starting. And doing it with less money. Now, I understand that the money is inherently less in the NHL, so $26 million in cap space versus $85 million in cap space is always going to look a lot different. But I think relative to how much more money the Titans had in the context of the NFL salary cap versus what the Preds are still paying and working under their salary cap, I think that Barry Trotz had the harder job and still achieved. I'm not saying that what Rand Carthon is tasked with doing isn't difficult. But I do think when you're picking that high in the draft, Preds picked what, 22nd in the first round this year? Titans picked 7th. When you're picking that high in the draft, it is really hard to screw up top 10 picks that way. Now, can it happen? Of course. But it's much harder to screw up from 1 to 10 than it is from, 15 to 20. What was the lowest they ever picked? What was their draft pick in 2020? What was Isaiah? Isaiah was 26th overall. I think Farley was 22nd overall. Either way. It's a lot harder to screw up at the top of the draft than it is the bottom of the draft. It's a lot easier to acquire the best talent when you have all the money in the world to spend. The Titans didn't have all the money in the world to spend. I think the Commanders ended up with the most cap space in football by the time we got ready for the free agency process. But the degree of difficulty was harder, I think, on Barry Trotz than Rand Carthon, even as I acknowledge that Rand Carthon did about as good a job as you could have hoped for if you're a Titans fan to try and get this thing back to meaningfully competitive.
Carthon probably did as good of a job as you could have hoped for. I think Trotz went, and this is not a knock on Carthon, but Trotz went above and beyond in a big way. Like, whatever the highest expectation was for the Preds offseason.
Overachieved by leaps and bounds.
By a mile. I mean, John Glennon has been covering this team from day one. He said he thinks this could be the biggest day in Preds franchise history in terms of offseason acquisitions, right? Obviously, getting to a Stanley Cup, you can find other monumental moments on the ice, but I agree with Glennon. He went so above and beyond to bring in a surefire future Hall of Famer, generational player in Steven Stamkos. And not like a Julio Jones, who is coming off a steep decline, still a very productive player. And a Conn Smythe Award winner from exactly 1 year ago, just to name two, as well as filling the need with Brady Shea and bringing in a backup goaltender, adding more competition and adding more depth along the way with those 4 free agent acquisitions that they announced yesterday as well. Barry Trotz went above and beyond in a way that I don't think anybody anticipated.
So what would have been that for Rand Carthon? Because I understand what you're saying, but I want to set a reasonable bar.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, the
Titans were never going to trade for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Carthon didn't have the opportunities that Barry Trotz had. Absolutely. I mean, what's the best case scenario? Carthon got Mike Evans.
The best case scenario probably was Calvin
Ridley, because Mike Evans was the best wide receiver on the market.
And he wasn't available.
He was not going to leave Tampa. Calvin Ridley then became the best available receiver on the market. He is a Tennessee Titan. And it not only seems like the money obviously was a huge factor, but we talk about Nashville. The location was a big factor because his wife wanted to be closer to home, Huntsville, Alabama. And it felt like Rand was the thing that kind of pushed it over the top. If you listen to his telling of it, him and Brian Callahan, in terms of how that conversation went. And Calvin Ridley talked about that a little bit too.
They clicked.
So Rand played a significant role in that personal connection. And we've seen that time and time again. Whereas Trotz's, he definitely has that personal connection, but a lot of it is also born out of his reputation around the league as a winner.
Sure.
And as a Stanley Cup winner and doing it successfully at multiple spots. And to his credit, it seems like Barry Trotz is not going to be the type of coach transition to GM that's going to be in the meddlesome sort of category. He actually was asked, Alex Doherty asked him yesterday about, okay, what would a top line look like with these players? How do you do? And Trotz quickly said, I'm not the coach. This is Andrew Burnett's job. In so many words, he said, I learned very quickly that if you don't pick the lines, you don't get criticized for it. Kind of tongue in cheek.
Sure.
So Trotz, without the on-ice results really coming into play with all of these moves, it seems like Trotz is transitioning pretty nicely from that successful head coach to general manager role.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how much more Rand Carthon could have gone over and above, right? Because the center, honestly, to me, is the most important signing that they made.
Top of market.
Top of market. So best center available. Got him.
Best corner available.
Best wide receiver available. Well, they had to trade for the corner because the corner was available, but not.
I know. He was a free agent, then he wasn't because he got the tag. But he was the best corner they could have gotten their hands on, L'Jarius Sneed, and they acquired him.
That we know about, yes. That we know about, absolutely. And L'Jarius Sneed is regarded as a top 5 corner in the last several years. So I struggle to find that opportunity for Rand to go above and beyond the way that Trotz had the opportunity to do so. So I don't want to use that as a knock against him because it wasn't viable for them to do any more than they did. Now, are Titans fans still wringing their hands over they want to pay Justin Simmons whatever the hell to come play safety for them? Yes, I know that there are still some Titans fans who are after T. Higgins for reasons that are beyond me, given what the wide receiver room looks like right now. So maybe if you're sitting in your car or you're listening in podcast after the fact, maybe those are the names that are coming to mind when you say, okay, Rand could still do more. And truly, both of them can still do more. The Titans do have financial flexibility here. The thing that I'm curious about is, one, is there any reticence? Can you have any reticence at all about continuing to sign players to future deals, not just short-term deals, with the Sunday ticket thing looming out there? And I've had some pushback, by the way, from some people in the league about the idea that clubs were going to have to take on some kind of financial impact from the Sunday ticket situation and that it would affect the salary cap. The legalese of that is still being worked out. But that just kind of sticks in the back of my mind, knowing that the NFL is going to have to pay or is heading towards a situation where they would have to pay the biggest legal penalty that they have ever had because of price gouging the customers and local businesses who pay for Sunday ticket. The cap implications of that, if there are any, we do not yet know. But I think it's fair for Nashville sports fans in general to be, one, super optimistic about the direction of both teams. We'll see what happens with Nashville SC and route to hiring what's the deal with Mike Jacobs? Is Mike Jacobs in danger at all?
No. Mike Jacobs, the general manager, is leading the search and making the hire, and we'll see when an announcement gets made. But Nashville's still in the midst of their season. Playoffs will come in October.
So we will see how all that bears itself out. But I think you can feel pretty good about Nashville as a city also attracting free agents in whatever the sport might be. And you can let's hear, Jackson, if we could, from Steven Stamkos, who spoke on why Nashville was attractive to him at this point in his career.
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, first and foremost, I've been on championship winning teams in the past in Tampa, and you see those teams that have won, recently, there's always a mix of a really good goaltender, an elite defenseman, and then, some elite forwards. And even before today with the signings, again, Nashville checked those boxes. Obviously, a great goalie. Roman Josi, he speaks for himself. You got Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist. That line was dynamic last year. And then a great, mix of younger players too. So naturally, I saw the fit there. Got a chance to speak with Trotz and the coaching staff and some of the other management staff and had, they answered any questions or concerns that I had about coming to Nashville, potentially playing for Nashville. And then funny enough, there was some rumors flying around that Nashville had signed Marchessault too. And at first I wasn't sure if that was true. I actually played with Marshy in Tampa, so we have a connection there. And he called me and he's like, "Are you signing in Nashville?" And I thought he was calling because, maybe I'd, sign here and he wanted to sign here and then it wasn't going to work for him or vice versa. And he said, "No, Stammer, I'm coming too." So that was a pretty fun surprise today. And we talked briefly on the phone. So
that is Steven Stamkos speaking on why Nashville made the most sense. Coming up next, last call for phone calls. If you got them, 615-737-1045, and some NHL league-wide news that could have an impact on how you watch the Nashville Predators in 2024. We'll tell you what's going on with that. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hatty B's Hot Chicken. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, 615-737-1045 is the number. Some comments in the FNM Bank chat where you can also live stream the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Ricky W. says on YouTube, the anticipation for Titans and Preds this year is going to be through the roof. Ticket sale departments are very happy. I told Lucas this the other day. Yesterday, for the first time in my life, thought about buying some kind of Preds season ticket package because I'm legitimately excited about the hockey season in July. I've never had a free agent crop or free agent process actually motivate me to want to buy season tickets for a local team. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that for the Titans because that's my job. I go and what am I going to do with Titan season tickets other than giving to Grace? That's not a fine. It's literally the reason I have the radio show.
Is Nashville SC the only team that you've ever bought season tickets for?
And I didn't even buy them. I just gave you money to buy them. So I've never had the experience of buying tickets like Grace having to.
So you bought them.
I gave you money to buy them.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to deal with like a ticket rep or anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I just bought them online. You just Venmo'd me.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I gave you money to buy them. And then you Blue used my season ticket for basically an entire season because I couldn't go to half the games. But I've never dealt with like a ticket sales rep or anything like that. Because anytime people send us questions about like seasons, I have no understanding, no knowledge whatsoever of how those departments work because I've never had to foray into that, right?
Yes, any question the everyday sports fan could answer, you are not the man for the job.
Correct. I do not have that experience. That is where the audience holds the advantage over me. Because like Grace having to explain to me like a Ticketmaster app when we went to a Ryman show recently and I bought the tickets, like how to pull all that stuff up on my phone and whatnot. It was like trying to teach me a foreign language. I was completely confused by it.
How did you get in this business?
I sound like this.
The clout.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. Working out well so far, bud. But yeah, the only season ticket I've ever technically held is when you and I had soccer season tickets in the first year that they were at Geodis. But I'm genuinely interested in Pred season tickets. Now immediately my phone's going to blow up or my email's going to blow up with Pred season or ticket reps trying to get me to make some kind of purchase. But still, I'm interested. Do we have anything else relevant to Preds fans that needs to be addressed?
We teased this, that the Florida Panthers, obviously the Stanley Cup champions, are now moving their local broadcast to Scripps Sports. So they are leaving Bally Sports, and they are bringing their games into more homes on a regular basis than ever before. That is according to the Associated Press.
Yeah, I would like to, before I buy season tickets, I would like to know whether I can watch the Preds on television, because that's another thing. I have Comcast. I would very much like to be able to watch regular season hockey games, and if I have to buy season tickets to go watch the Preds because I can't get them locally, that's going to be a problem. So keep an eye on that as far as the consumption of how these games are going to be distributed. I'm sure that'll be worked out or should be worked out in the coming months. Are people still not able to get Braves games on Comcast? If they're on Bally, like if ESPN's got the Sunday Night Baseball game or whatever and the Braves are on, obviously you're going to watch that, or you can watch that. But I don't think that Braves games are available right now either on Bally. Anyway, polls.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What in sports made you say, oh no, this weekend? Eldon says it was your take about Uruguay not being a significant international soccer superpower.
When in fact they are one of the most significant soccer superpowers.
Karen says the Jim Schlossnagle saga. So obviously the former Texas A&M baseball coach bolts to go to Texas literally the day after they lose the national championship to Tennessee. Do you see the new stuff coming out on that? That Jim Schlossnagle did an interview with a newspaper writer, and he detailed some conversations he had with new Texas A&M AD Trev Alberts, who was not the AD that hired him. That was Ross Bjork, who's now at Ohio State. And he said that after the regionals, A&M's new AD, they kind of had to sit down, and Schlossnagle expressed some frustration about some kind of how it's slowed down. Things have slowed down with the new baseball facility, and A&M's AD unpromptedly said something to the effect of, Jim, if you ever feel like this isn't the place for you and you want to move on, like, that's okay. Like, almost indicating these are from Jim Schlossnagle.
What?
This is from Jim Schlossnagle. Go back and read that interview, and it makes a little more sense why he felt like maybe it's a good idea to go be with his buddy, the Texas AD that used to be his boss at TCU.
So maybe context important for the guy that's been getting dragged across the surface of the sun in the college baseball world, but still.
That's his side of the story, at least.
Yeah, there's always two sides.
What is the most embarrassing international sports failure in American history? Brian says our men's soccer team consistently. Alex says it is the 2004 Olympic basketball team, favored to win gold, but ended up with the bronze after losing to Puerto Rico and Lithuania in the group stage and Argentina in the semifinal.
I know that nobody's going to go to me on my soccer expertise for obvious reasons, but I associate the U.S. men's national team as the most underperforming sports team, like, on not a day-to-day basis, but in my lifetime, the one that I'm most consistently underwhelmed with, or, maybe I get interested and I turn on a U.S. men's team and they suffer some kind of embarrassing defeat at the hands of Panama.
It's been a long time since they've exceeded any sort of expectations. Jeremy says losing the 2018 World Cup qualifier to Trinidad, no contest. That's the most embarrassing. What should be the expectation for the U.S. men's national team in the 2026 World Cup? 49% say get out of the group stage, 26% say the round of 16, 24% say quarterfinals or better. I'm so tired of get out of the group stage being the baseline expectation for the U.S. at these competitions, but that's where we are. Who cooked harder this offseason? 53% say ran Carthon over Barry Trotz.
I disagree, but that's probably skewed because of that Twitter poll is on my Twitter account, and the vast majority of people that are following me are following because they're Titans fans.
What's your level of concern about the age of the Preds free agency signings? 49% say slightly concerned. 42% say not at all. 8% say very concerned. Those are the polls.
Okay, very good. That's the show. Blaine Bishop going to keep you entertained. Coming up next, we've got one more show this week. Tomorrow's our Friday. I guess tomorrow's everybody's Friday for the most part, except for those of you who have to work on Friday, which we apologize for. But we'll enjoy that. We'll have the dumbest thing in sports this week. I assume we'll have something to give away in the nebulous prize bucket that I hate. And we'll look forward to spending that time with you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. See y'all. So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.